Good afternoon. If I had to describe the current state of tobacco vape shops, not just here in Fairfax County, but in the entire National Capital Region, I would describe tobacco vape shops as dens of ill repute and hives of corruption. You're going to hear today from Deputy Chief Fred Chambers about several search warrants that we executed at tobacco vape shops just a few days ago. You're also going to hear from Chief Chambers about the increasing types of calls for service, the amount of times that uniformed Fairfax County police officers are dispatched to one or more or several or dozens of our 95 tobacco vape shops that exist throughout Fairfax County. You're going to hear some numbers about burglaries and crimes that are investigated at these tobacco vape shops. Those take police resources, not just patrol officers who respond to these scenes, but detectives, crime scene detectives, follow-up efforts, prosecutorial efforts with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. Tobacco vape shops have snuck up on us and we didn't even realize it. And it's a regional challenge. It's regional. It's not just Fairfax County. You're going to hear about undercover detectives who've gone into these tobacco vape shops on several occasions and have not only posed as underage persons buying tobacco, but they've bought marijuana. They've bought mushrooms. You're going to hear about some other interesting things that we recovered at these search warrants, to include synthetic urine, and I'm not making this up, that's for sale to people who want to defeat drug tests, either drug tests required by their employers or drug tests otherwise required. So we're taking this very seriously in Fairfax County. We believe over the last decade at the most, they've snuck up on us. It's time to do something about them, not just public safety, but legislatively. And then we'll answer your questions. It's worthy of our attention. It's worthy of your attention. I know I mentioned it last night to my Chiefs Community Advisory Council, gave them a presentation, in fact, on the state of tobacco vape shops in Fairfax County and how much they drain our resources and the crimes that are associated with them. And a unique nexus to young people who have a propensity for breaking into those vape shops. So I'm going to turn it over to Chief Chambers. He'll describe the search warrants, what we recovered at these search warrants, to include a large amount of cash, and then we'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today. Again, my name is Deputy Chief Frederick Chambers. I'm the Bureau Commander of the Organized Crime and Intelligence Bureau, and I'm also joined by Major Shannon Massey, who's the Organized Crime and Narcotics Division Commander. Last week, March 18th, we conducted simultaneous search warrants on 13 vape shops within Fairfax County, 3 additional residences in the surrounding counties, a warehouse, and 2 storage facilities where we located lots of marijuana, cash, as the chief described, a lot of other illicit contraband that's being distributed through these vape shops. This investigation started in 2024 through community tips and other means that came to our narcotics unit to give us an idea that there was illicit activity going on in these vape shops. So over the last year and a half, detectives from our narcotics section has been conducting an investigation into these vape shops. Meanwhile, during 2025, we had 29 burglaries into these vape shops. Of those 29, our criminal investigation division made 22 arrests. Of those 22 arrests, about half of those individuals were juveniles. They're breaking into these shops to steal these vape pens and other items within the facilities that they can use. And sometimes we've responded to calls of overdoses or adverse reactions from these pens and different items that they're taking from the vape shops. Now, obviously, the owners are not telling us that other items such as marijuana may have been stolen from these vape shops at the time of those burglaries, but through investigative means, when we're investigating those burglaries and walking through these facilities, we're seeing in plain view items such as marijuana or advertised items that should not be distributed through those vape shops. As the chief mentioned, one of the particular items that we found during this search warrant was an item that's advertised as urine to defeat urinalysis tests through any means of public, where your employer may be trying to make sure that your employees are not utilizing illegal narcotics. So they're advertising that you can buy this, what we've found to be synthetic urine, to defeat these tests. We recovered over $500,000 in cash, and we've seized about 18 bank accounts. And the investigation is still ongoing. We have hundreds of pounds of evidence to go through, majority of it marijuana, mushrooms, and other things that are not legal to sell through these vape shops. In Fairfax County, just now, the major informed me, Chief, we actually have 116 vape shops in the county. So that's how far they are. They're continuing to grow. When we started looking into this a couple of years ago, we counted like 54. And just now, 2 years later, that number has doubled. And the calls for service related to these vape shops is over 1,300. 1,300 calls for service in 2025 in the facility of these vape shops. So those are the type of things that brought our attention to it and started our investigation. And our narcotics detective did an amazing job. The entire Fairfax County Police Department, there wasn't a bureau or a section that did not participate in these simultaneous search warrants all at one time. From our patrol, our investigators, as well as some federal and state partners who attended those search warrants as well. And you have some of the pictures of some of the evidence and things that we recovered. But we will continue to investigate these. These shops are back open. So we continue to ask the community, continue to send in those tips, and we will continue to investigate them. Thank you.
Any questions? Drew?
Either Chief Chambers or Chief Davis, talk about the suspects who were arrested, their relationship. One of the sons, I believe, had a $50,000 bond versus the other two had $5,000. What are the circumstances around that, and I guess kind of the differences in their roles?
Yeah, Chief Chambers would be more than happy to do that, but I wanted to add as we go into the Q&A portion that the Fairfax County Police Department, the Fairfax County government enjoys fantastic relationships with our business community. We, in fact, assign police officers full-time to Tyson's. We assign police officers full-time to Springfield. Our partnerships and our relationships are stellar. In fact, the district commanders meet at least quarterly with their business partners. So this is not an indictment on the business community. This is drawing attention and shining a light, again, dens of ill repute, hives of corruption that are disproportionately associated with tobacco vape shops. So I just wanted to share that to put it in a larger context. Fairfax County, to include our police department, wants and has wonderful relationships with the business community. There's one segment of it, though, that's doing a disproportionate amount of harm to our community and our young people. So Chief Chambers will talk about those folks that we've arrested, and there's likely more to come.
Yes, sir. Your question was about the bond that was set on one of the individuals?
Well, and I guess maybe the specific roles that the individuals were playing. What were they doing? What was their kind of day-to-day or their role in this operation?
So I'll start with the bond. The bond is set by the magistrate, and a lot of times that depends on their history, their criminal history, their history to failure to appear in court, and the charges. They all have the same charges, so if the individual has a different bond, it's usually based on their background.
Not specific to the allegations in this case?
Correct, because they all have the same charges.
Okay. Can you get into a little bit about their operation, what they were doing, kind of the specifics of how they were running it?
The major?
Yes. Good afternoon. This operation was all up and down the East Coast. This was up from Philadelphia all the way down to North Carolina. Like you said, we got this information back in 2024. Some tips, some other local agencies were letting us know as well that they were looking into this. And that's basically, they are the distribution site for all of these. They own these stores, up to 50 to 60 businesses throughout. So once looking at them, we tied these shops to them, and they were the main hub for not only these shops that they operate, but also a lot of the other vape shops within the county and the surrounding jurisdictions.
The charges, talk about the charges,
And
specific charges.
I'm sorry, can you ask the question?
Talk about the charges.
The charges themselves, it's our looking in obviously for the distribution, the conspiracy to distribute, and also the money laundering aspect of it. Looking into the bank account, seeing where this money is going, the money coming in, the money going out. Some more investigative stuff that we determined of how they were coding these sales when they were actually selling the marijuana prior to some illegal sales they were doing. So not to get into the in depth, but that's some of how those charges and how we tie it back to the money coming in and out of the businesses.
I mean, so much has been changing with marijuana distribution, especially with legalization of recreational and all of those things. Is this becoming a large part of the black market of marijuana? Do people just know that this is where you can go to buy?
So we know, Drew, that our young people know that they can walk into a tobacco vape shop. They don't have to conceal their identity. They don't have to conceal their age, and they can purchase marijuana. So the distribution of that marijuana is still a crime. Not only are they selling tobacco left and right to underage kids, but they're also distributing marijuana, and our undercovers have purchased marijuana from these tobacco vape shops. That cash that you see in one of the pictures that I believe we shared with you, you better believe they're not paying taxes on any of those, none. And we even had a special agent from the Food and Drug Administration accompany us on these search warrants because we anticipate that there'll be some other federal charges associated with their business practices. So it's certainly unique to my 34 years. I can never recall an instance where I've stood up and talked about a search warrants that have been conducted simultaneously at 13 tobacco vape shops, but that's where we are in 2026. Tobacco vape shops have snuck up on our community, and they're disproportionately hitting our young people. When they break into those stores and steal the vape pens, they take those vape pens into their community, bathrooms in their schools, and like Chief Chambers said, we know that they've overdosed on several occasions because they're using the vape pens that they've stolen upon burglarizing these vape shops. So all types of nefarious misconduct. And to put it in greater context, there is a time and a place to consider the decriminalization of marijuana and even the legalization of marijuana. Those, to me, are separate subjects. But the distribution of marijuana to young people, when it's illegal to do so, is still a crime. And I think our community still, when they know that 13, 14, 15-year-old children are buying marijuana from tobacco vape shops throughout Fairfax County and the region, that doesn't sit right with our community. So I don't want anyone to mistake this as the FCPD coming down hard on marijuana.
No, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
phrase the question.
but I think sometimes people hear it differently. This is, I think, a public health and public safety problem. Both can be true at the same time, and it's something that's gotten our full attention.
There's some legislation that's going to crack down on
So if you look at D.C. and what Washington, D.C. has done, they've passed some legislation that seem to reduce or limit the number of vape shops that exist in the 67 square miles of Washington, D.C. We've got 400 plus square miles in Fairfax County, but we are more than happy to be part of a conversation to identify solutions to what we believe is a growing public health, public safety issue in Fairfax County.
Do you know if the vapes that were selling in those stores were laced with fentanyl, THC, or other substance?
We suspect that they have been laced, the marijuana that's been sold, but we know once the vape pens are stolen, young people will put what they believe to just be marijuana, that's not always just marijuana, into a vape pen and consume it, and sometimes the overdoses will result from that. We had a really great 2025, not just Fairfax County, but the region when it comes to the reduction in opioid overdose deaths. Non-fatal opioid overdoses down. So we want to do our part to keep the momentum going in the right direction, and we think focusing on the nefarious roles of some of these tobacco vape shops will not only serve to protect children from being sold marijuana illegally, but also arguably protect them from overdosing.
You talked about these suspects. Are they family? Similar last names?
Yes, it's the father and two sons.
And did they own all of these shops, or are there other owners involved?
No, they were all the primary owners.
And you had said this, they're now open again. Is there a way to shut them down?
So that's something that we're working on. It's a lot of, throughout the county to, they have their business license, so that's something that we're following up on, but as of today, they're still able to operate.
You said this was obviously an operation up and down the East Coast. These 13 shops that are owned by this family, I know you mentioned that there could be more to come. What you're talking about, the 100 vape shops in the county. Are there other, I don't know what you call crime syndicates, or do you think that each individual shop is operating like this, or are there more families like this who are doing big business, in multiple locations?
As far as Fairfax County, I have any indication of another large organization working like this as a family. As as far as the business itself, this isn't obviously the first business that we have targeted for the distribution of legal narcotics.
Mike, what you got?
Chief, just to sort of expand on the discussion about, some sort of legislation or laws passed to sort of help you. What type of help would you like to receive, and have you had an opportunity to talk to officials in the county or maybe even local state legislators?
You know, Mike, sometimes an incident like this where we not only execute 13 simultaneous search warrants throughout the county, but we recover marijuana, we recover cash in the tune of over $500,000 in cash, and we stumble upon things that we didn't suspect to stumble upon, like the distribution of synthetic urine. It's a starting point for conversations from other aspects of government, from legislators. So we think, and that's why it's important to share this with the community, we think that this will be a wake-up call for our community, because like I've said a couple times, these tobacco vape shops have really kind of snuck up on us. And the moment I thought there was 95, now there's 116, and if we had this press conference next week, maybe there'll be 125. So it's just a conversation starting point, and I anticipate all those conversations and interactions with lawmakers and others will take place in the near future.
To expand on the encounter with synthetic urine, is there anything you can charge them for selling that?
Yeah, I don't know, Mike. It's taken me 34 years to encounter synthetic urine. I don't have an answer for that. But that's why we're always keeping our head on a swivel when it comes to crime trends and patterns, particularly those that impact young people. Because the arrest, we are closing these tobacco burglaries with arrests. And then sadly, the persons arrested are kids, literally 13, 12, 14-year-old kids. So it has such an impact on these kids. They know where the vape pens are. And if you watch some of the video that's been released by us and other jurisdictions, they go right to the vape pens. They go right to the cash register, they go right to the vape pens, and if they know where the marijuana is being sold from, they'll go right to the marijuana too. And they're in and out really, really quickly.
Are any of these shops, we do have legal marijuana in the state under certain conditions. Are any of these shops authorized distributors?
No. And again, two different conversations. I don't want to get it confused. The decriminalization, legalization of marijuana is one conversation. These are not authorized distilleries in any way, shape, or form. I know Maryland has authorized and legalized marijuana and the distribution of it at distilleries, and that's done lawfully, and taxes are paid. All that cash that you see in these pictures, there's no tax being paid on that cash. Anybody else? DC.
Just, you're talking a lot about kids not only robbing these places, but going in to get marijuana vape pens. What is your message for parents out there about these shops? Yeah,
so burglarizing, not robbing, thankfully, but it's just a matter of time before these kids are going to break into one of these stores in the middle of the night thinking it's not going to be occupied, and there might be someone in there, and that someone in there might have a gun. We might have a tragic encounter between a store proprietor and a kid. So, those things are very real possibilities / probabilities. So the message to parents is familiarize yourselves with what a vape pen looks like, number one. And I don't know if we distribute a picture of a vape pen, but we can certainly provide one to you. But be aware of your kids' lives and what they possess in their backpacks and in their bedrooms. That's my overly simple advice. Become aware of this trend pattern, and hopefully the coverage that we get from the local news media will spark some greater awareness, and have conversations with your kids. And chances are, if your child possesses a vape pen, he or she is using drugs, smoking drugs with the vape pen, and chances are nowadays marijuana is not what it used to be. The THC level is higher, and it's routinely laced with fentanyl, unbeknownst to some of these kids who think they're just smoking marijuana.
Chief, and I will also add to that, as you see in your packet, there were 7 firearms recovered. Yeah. So when you're talking about these juveniles committing burglaries and breaking into these individual establishments, they could be in there protecting their product and unfortunately use one of those firearms against someone who's breaking into those buildings.
Mike, go ahead.
How did you guys get turned on to this back in 2024? Was it because of service?
Well, I'd say three things. Calls for service were dramatically increasing, and not just for burglaries at these tobacco vape shops, but for disorder around the vape shops. People loitering in parking lots, people trespassing, people being disorderly. So the increase in calls for service was a red flag. Crime Solvers tips, 1-866-411 tips, those went up. Red flag number 2. Red flag number 3 were concerns from some parents who contacted the police, particularly at the district station level, and asked hard questions because they were seeing their children in possession of vape pens and otherwise behaving differently. So it's those three things. It's never just one thing that brings something to our attention, but that's when we realized that we had an issue that we need to address, and we still need to address it. And I'm hopeful that this conversation, the 13 search warrants that were executed and what we recovered will send a message that this is a 2026 issue, and we need to put these dens of ill repute, these hives of corruption out of business.
What would you like to see here when it comes to helping you fight this? Because I don't know that for a fact, but I know in DC we've seen several places shut down when these sort of things are found, I believe. And here you're saying they're back open. Talk a bit about what it looks like to give you more teeth to go after these sorts of things.
Well, Fairfax County government is a well-oiled machine, and I have no doubt that we'll continue our conversations with our other county government partners to see how we can put our heads together to take advantage of things like use and occupancy permits, zoning permits, zoning considerations that hopefully will make us more aware of the volume of these tobacco vape shops throughout Fairfax County. I know the DC legislation limited a tobacco vape shop within so many feet, I don't want to misquote how many feet, of a school. So that is a legislative fix. So we're interested in that conversation as well. Because you got to believe that of the 116 that exist throughout Fairfax County, most of which disproportionately exist in the Mason district station, the Annandale community, et cetera, there's got to be proximity to schools. And these kids are walking out of school and they're walking to the tobacco vape shop.
And you also said this is an East Coast thing, so there's a number of shops going up the East Coast. Do you have other departments contacting you now to work with them and share what you found?
Yeah, even prior to the execution of these search warrants, we've been working with other police departments throughout the Commonwealth and up and down the East Coast. It's not a Fairfax County problem. It's not a Northern Virginia problem. We are excited about the possibility of being part of a solution going forward to limit, to better regulate, and to hold nefarious business owners accountable because that's what we just did. And we believe we may have just cracked the tip of the iceberg. Yes, ma'am.
I had conversations with some detectives in Texas talking about vape shops because they had similar operations. And they commented on the vapes coming from Mexico, from the cartels, coming from China, and this whole operation, China, Mexico, they fill it up with who knows, and then they try to sell it to the US because in Mexico they have regulations in place, right? Any idea where these vapes come from? These vapes that the kids are using and buying?
Yeah, so one of the things we noticed when we were doing this search warrant and the major and I walked through is a lot of those items are counterfeit items, which again, when these juveniles get a hold of it, it may not contain the items that they think is inside of it. So that's where our federal partners came in because they have ability to make some charges based on that. We saw items on the shelf that were Sweden and different other countries that may not have a regulation that the United States have, and so they're selling these things, and folks have no idea what's in them.
And just to be clear, those 12, 13 stores are still selling those vapes today? Like, because you say that they were open.
Well, we seized a lot of the illegal products. But as far as some of the other items that they have, yes, they're still in operation. Even to the point of during our search warrant, I think we intercepted UPS or whatever delivery service delivering more product. So we took that as well.
There's a bill that would move ABC to the, I guess, kind of oversight body of vape shops. It made its way through the General Assembly. You might be familiar with it, waiting for governor's signature. If ABC had the oversight, obviously it would probably be a much different structure than the way they operate the spirit stores. But would that level of oversight maybe catch some of these things? I mean, do you have any faith that something like that?
Something like that, Drew. So now we're right of boom, right? It's got everybody's attention. So from that, I think some legislative oversight, specific legislative enforcement responsibility is probably a good idea. And then perhaps down the road, and we'll be happy to be a part of any discussions about potential legislation. I know our county government does a great job with introducing legislation in Richmond every year, and I suspect this will probably be one of the things that Fairfax County is going to absolutely be proud to take the lead on.
These types of crimes, you're saying a lot of them are concentrated in the Instant District. How would you characterize the impact they have on your resources? Because you have a lot of initiatives going on. Is this drawing? So
Mike, I try to describe, take 1,300 calls for service. So that's at least 2 police officers per call, oftentimes more. And then if a crime is committed, you're adding a detective. You're adding a crime scene detective. You're adding the real-time crime center's involvement. Now and in the future, you're adding the potential deployment of a drone. So there's a price tag associated with calls for service and criminal investigations. And that price is paid by the taxpayers. So when taxpayers see law enforcement sees large sums of cash like we did, not only from the stores, but from the cars of one of these folks that we interacted with, they know that that's illicit cash, funds, money that's not being taxed, and these people are getting away with committing crimes. And it's always been my experience that the majority of folks would look at something like this, shake their head up and down, and agree with us that we got to do something to address it. And those conversations are taking place and will only get further discussed in the near future. So,
is the department having conversations with schools because these kids are using the vapes in schools?
Ongoing discussions. Our 55, 56 school resource officers are very familiar with vape pens, very familiar with marijuana. Mushrooms are being sold out of these things. So our school resource officers are some of our strongest allies when it comes to the education prevention piece of this. And they will continue to be a part of the solution. So this message today is we're all here part of seeking a solution. No one is at odds with each other. The police are not at odds with the business community. The government's not at odds with the business community. Who we take issue with are folks who are harming children, putting children's lives into jeopardy, and otherwise just getting away with committing crimes right under our noses.
If you're wanting other shops like this out there, maybe those that are reopened, and then those others that maybe you haven't found yet who might be dealing in some of this.
Well, the message from the Fairfax County Police Department is we're watching, we're paying attention, and we will conduct a criminal investigation in a heartbeat the moment we think you're committing crimes that harm our children. All right, thank you all.